All right. Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for this month's MicroAge Talks Technology webinar. My name is Maria Fiore. I'm the Director of Operations here at MicroAge, and I'm joined today by Sergio Lima, who's the Director of Customer Success. Welcome, Sergio.
Hello, thank you. Welcome, everyone.
So today's conversation will revolve around the importance of cybersecurity awareness, and we'll play a little game to test your cybersecurity knowledge. So before we begin, just a few housekeeping notes. First of all, attendees are muted to reduce the background noise. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation by using the questions panel on the webinar tool. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent to you within the next 24 hours for your review and to share with people you think would benefit from listening in. In the same email, you'll receive a link to download the free ebook that we're making available. And if you'd also, we get asked about having a copy of the presentation. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, we have it for you in the handout section of the webinar tool, so you can go ahead and download it from there. And lastly, at the end of the webinar, you'll receive a short 3-question survey to gather your feedback. It's important to us, and it'll help us improve some of our future webinars. So if you can take a minute to give us your feedback, that would be appreciated. So before handing things over to Sergio, I'm going to take a minute to give you a brief overview of who we are for those of you who may not know us. So MicroAge is a Canadian technology service provider with 40 locations across Canada. We've been providing IT services and solutions to our clients since 1981. In order for us to serve you properly, we need to understand your organization. We need to understand your operations, your people, your goals, your challenges, your opportunities, your clients. All of these things help us to recommend and provide the IT services and solutions that are right for you. So that's who we are, and that's how we engage with our clients. And so, Sergio, if you want to take it away.
Thank you very much. So welcome, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day. This is our favorite topic, or my favorite topic anyways, when we do our webinars, the cybersecurity awareness, training, testing, making sure you're all up to speed with the latest info, cybersecurity landscape, and see if, it's an interactive webinar, so I enjoy it anyways. It's fun. So we'll go through some of the trends. Typically in our first couple of slides, we go through our typical trends and stats that keep changing on a regular basis. And we'll go through some of the sample malicious emails and texts that we typically receive, or that we are receiving right now. And then we'll go through our little quiz of 8 questions, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we'll answer questions. It's a question and answer, but we always say you can write your question at the bottom in the little section. I think it's comment section.
Questions.
And
It's actually called questions.
It's called questions. Perfect. And feel free to ask them anytime. And obviously, Maria will go through them, and she'll stop me, and we'll try to answer those questions on the fly, because that's always fun.
Sergio loves questions, so we encourage it.
Yes, got it. All right, let's do it. Trends and stats. So we always try and change them up. We try and get the latest stats. We deal with several authorities in the cybersecurity world that give us some of these stats. A lot of them are partners, vendors that we deal with. So a couple of them changes. I mean, the 95% data breaches are due to human error has not changed. It's been that way for many, many years. And 46% of cybersecurity events occur in small and medium businesses. So just because you think you're a small, medium business, don't think that you're getting away with it, because you are probably targeted by them. And 1 in every 10 businesses or small businesses suffers some form of a cyber attack each year. So obviously that's a big amount. There's 70,000 reported cybersecurity incidences in 2023. That's an increase of 25% from the prior year. So that's huge. The good news is that the 62.5% versus 63.3 in 2022 was the classic ransomware, pay ransom to decrypt the data. But the bad news is that the organizations that were extorted double or more times, right? So They were threatened with publicly releasing the exfiltrated data. They were threatened with notifying customers or media of data breaches. Were threatened with DDoS attacks or denial of service attacks against the organization. So, I guess they're leveraging the fact that certain laws are in place, and as a company, as an enterprise, as an organization, you have to report your breaches, and they're using that to leverage, the ability to get some money from you. And 73% versus 85%, it did go down. These are the organizations that seem to be more confident in their cybersecurity posture. So I guess the good news is that we're slowly starting to understand the sensitivity and the impact of these types of cyber incidents and cyber attack events. The problem is that the new technologies like AI, new tools, and new business models that may probably impact as well. So the cyber criminals they're constantly evolving in their way of getting into your systems. So, there may be a lull, if you want to call 73% lull. There may be a lull, but it looks like it might go up because of AI, and I'll explain why in the next in a couple of slides. So
And
on a yearly, yep,
that's a confidence level though, right? So
yeah,
people are putting in place measures
yeah,
and controls, which is a good thing. So it's just we have to keep up with the
yeah.
with the cyber
Don't
criminals,
put your
right?
guard down is the
Yeah,
message,
that's
right?
exactly right. Yeah,
Because you put your guard down and you're gonna stop, and
they don't.
yeah. What month is the cybersecurity month again?
Hey, October.
It's every month.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the right answer.
you're right. Oh my God, a trick question.
I led you into that trick
Dang,
question. It's every
dang.
month is cybersecurity month. So
You're
don't think just
absolutely
because,
right.
don't focus
I
on.
fell for that one. Yeah.
So every year we partnership between Microsoft and a global cyber awareness training and phishing simulation provider. They have a tournament called the Gone Phishing Tournament. These are the stats you see from 2023. So 1,370,000 emails were sent out. So participants that went in and opted to get phished, right? To test, I guess. And of those 1.37 million, 10.4% clicked on a malicious link. So that's an increase. To give you perspective, it is an increase of 3.4% from the previous year, from 2022. But the year before that, which was 2021, it was at 19%. So remember, we talked about getting comfortable. A couple of years ago, we didn't know much about it, or it was people were starting to learn about it, so the click rate was really high. Then we started to learn about it. We started to implement some different practices and maybe train our employees and phishing tests and stuff. That brought it down to like 7 point something percent. And now we got happy and complacent, and it came back up. And I think it's just going to go up because of AI and other tools that the criminals are using. And the worst stat of this is of the 10.4%, which is roughly, let's say, 140,000 people that clicked on a link. 60% of those actually went as far as entering their information, so username and password. So that's a big increase, because I believe the year before was at 44% or so. You're looking at 70 to 80,000 people that went as far as entering their personal information, login credentials. So again, the results underscore the continual need for cybersecurity training and simulations. You need to know more, obviously. So data is still focus of the ransomware attacks, but moving from simple encryption, like you need to pay an encryption you have to pay for your encryption key to get your data back. And it's moved more to like multiple extortion. Samples are like, we'll release the data that we exfiltrated publicly. We'll notify your customers. We'll notify the media that your data has been compromised. We'll continue to, the DDoS attacks will continue to attack your environment until you pay. What's driving this evolution is pretty much, better backup and recovery strategies and tools. Obviously, is that the criminals know that you're backing up your data, so they're trying other means of trying to get their money, right? They also have better decryption tools and services. They have better exfiltration tools that are being used. and obviously organizations are being advised not to pay, but the problem you run into is, when they do get into your network, it's not that very moment that they'll start to extort or encrypt. The tendency is that they'll wait for days, weeks, even months to understand what's going on within your environment, and then figure out a way to maybe compromise your backup solution that's in place and turn stuff off, so that it doesn't give you your plan B and doesn't allow you to, to recover from that, and pretty much leaving you no choice but to have to pay some form of ransomware.
So basically, they're just getting, they realize that, the tools that we were using, all of the things that people were doing to protect their data, was getting better and better, and with the laws and all of that, and so they now do the extortion and the exfiltration piece, right?
Yep.
So
And now we have this wonderful new technology, somewhat new, I guess.
somewhat new. Apparently, it's been around since 1950, but yeah,
Yeah, somewhat
different
somewhat
version.
new, called artificial intelligence, right? So you get to see phishing attempts that are more realistic, difficult to discern. Deep fakes, as they call it, very realistic videos, voicemails that are hard to detect. Obviously, we've seen this on social media everywhere, videos that of people that said things that wasn't even them that said it, but it kind of looks like them. Social media cloning, data collection. It's going to simplify identity theft and increase targeted scams. Obviously, they have better tools that'll quickly discover and exploit anything that's a zero-day vulnerability. And when I say zero-day vulnerability, means you may be running an application that today an entity discovered that there's a vulnerability and they're working on the fix. Well, the cyber criminals are also working on trying to get into that vulnerability today, that same day. There's a chance that they might get into your environment before you actually apply any fixes or patches or resolve that issue. Obviously, that's that's a problem. And of course, the AI scalability, efficiency. I don't want to use the word lazy, but the cyber criminals are very, they look for optimization and ways that they can attack multiple targets at the same time and not have to do all the grunt work. So AI does a lot of that work for them, and it renders their tasks a lot easier. And so they can just pick and choose what, who they want to attack, and what info they want to sell and what they want to publish. So that's scary, because I have a feeling that next year's stats will go up because of this.
They're businesses. They're looking to be efficient and productive.
Cybersecurity as a, what would they call it again? Cyber criminal as a service?
Yeah,
Something.
cyber crime or something.
Cyber
Yeah.
crime as a service. Yeah. So a business email compromise is still is a top form of attack. Actually, it's a category of cybercrime where the frauders they gain access to, excuse me, legitimate business email accounts to send what looks like a legitimate request from a legitimate and trusted source. Your boss or whatnot, attempting to trick the business or an individual, to provide confidential information, to send money, or even share some intellectual property and stuff. So the BEC attack is targeted directly at a specific individual or a small group, like executives, finance team, human resources, entry level or new employees. Why? Because these are the most, for some reason, these are the
Vulnerable.
ones that are most vulnerable. Yeah. And the common attack methods are domain spoofing, social engineering, and compromised accounts. Okay, so more and more what we've seen is, obviously, I mean, we've done these webinars before. We've done the questions and showing you email templates of what to look for when you get an email and it's suspicious. You think there's certain things wrong. Hover your mouse over certain links and see what happens. What we're seeing now is what they call quishing, which is first of all, it's a noticeable increase that has been, according to Security Magazine, the QR phishing has increased by over 50% in September 2023 alone. So this technique is obviously dangerous because it attempts to evade all of the automated detection, while presenting users with a familiar code, a format of a context that they've never seen before. So you have the tendency of, oh, QR code, let's see. Grab your phone and you click over it. And, it's impossible to tell by just looking at it if it's something legit or not. And what happens is you have to actually take a snapshot of it for you to get to the link, and it's kind of too late by then, right? The user's unaware that the code probably engages a piece of malicious content, and there you go, you're phished. And I've heard and read events where, so now you go to a restaurant and sometimes the menu is no longer on a piece of paper. It's a QR code that's on the table or on a little, piece of paper on a table. That's the menu. I've heard instances where cyber criminals have gone into restaurants and flat out just, stuck one of their QR codes on top. And, you walk into your restaurant trying to look at the menu and you're clicking on this code, and that gives them a way into your environment or to your info. And then, which in turn, if you get to your network or a business network, then obviously they'll be able to get in that way. So something to I was going to say look forward to, but that's not the right word. Something to be aware of.
Doris mentions that Loblaws use QR codes for loading offers. So yeah,
There you
be
go.
careful.
Yeah, this is scary. Yeah. So also in recent months, there's been a rise, believe it or not, in USB attacks, which you, I would say this is like so 10 years ago, but while we're trying to figure out the AI attacks, and the criminals are going back to like the old school true methods that work, right? So we still rely heavily on USB devices for whatever reason. They're small, they're inexpensive, they're portable, makes them popular for storing stuff, moving them around from one device to the other. And obviously, it's the same qualities that make them appealing to threat actors. And if malware from a USB device infects a machine on a network, obviously it can spread over to the rest of the network, to other computers, and it can be compromised, and the cycle just continues. So don't plug an unknown USB device into your computer. If you see a USB drive key lying around, just give it to your IT department. Don't just decide what's in it and click it, and then never plug it into your system, obviously. And obviously, we had this question in the other webinar, but like, what can we do to avoid this? Well, eliminate the risk by locking down your USB access for your endpoint. So there's group policies and endpoint protection platforms that allow you to lock down all your USB ports, so that you don't have to worry about anybody mistakenly plugging something in, and you can kind of pick and choose and limit with what USB device you'll allow your users to run. So there's an allow list or a white list that these specific USB devices that are allowed to go on. And obviously with proper endpoint endpoint protection software, you can enable scanning of these drives when they're connected.
So the moral of the story is don't be picking up random USB keys or devices. We have Kelly who asks, so should we avoid QR codes? And I think the message that we're giving here is, it's the same with any other phishing message, right? Or email. Like, look at it. Are you expecting something from somebody, or do they normally send you a QR code? Is this, like you mentioned, or Doris mentioned Loblaws. Like there's a store or a grocery store here in Quebec called Maxi. Every Thursday they send me promotions. I know it's coming every Thursday. They don't use
Yeah.
QR codes, but they, I expect that. So if it comes in on a Tuesday, I might question that, right? Like I might just not do anything with it and wait till my normal. I also have an application that I can load, so that's different. But just question:
Yeah.
is this something that is normal that I receive on a normal basis? Like the same, who's it from? Is it addressed to me? Is it something that I receive every day? Does it look like it's too good to be true?
Yeah.
Like avoid, right?
Yeah, it's hard to stop that, and it's hard to detect whether it's good or not. So I guess the word is vigilance. Just be aware of that. Like, let's say, I mean, I'll use one of my examples. Let's say you go to say you go to a clinic, medical clinic or whatnot. Yeah, you have the cork boards with all the pieces of paper of information and stuff. We see a lot of QR codes there. Like I don't scan any of those QR codes because I don't know. It could be anybody just walking in and pinning their piece of paper on it. It's like, hey, better health, click on this. So,
Yeah.
I try to go old school and just click on the website, manually and see if I can get my info that way. So I'm a little scared of doing QR codes, unless, like you mentioned, Maria, if it's, from a known source, you get certain things like that. then that should be okay. But hard
Yeah.
to say that we have the solution that stops, QR codes. It's a tough one.
Another question just before we move on. Doris asks, is there a safe way to run a scan on a USB stick to check before opening it up?
No, you have to actually connect it to a device that runs the scan, because that device, the USB key doesn't, there's no way for you to actually run a scan before it's connected. It needs to connect to some sort of a device that does that. So obviously, our IT department, when we have devices, drives, USB keys that we suspect there's something on them, we actually have a separate or a segmented environment machine that, we
Like a
don't care if
sandbox.
anything. Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. It's a sandbox, right? We don't care what happens to that machine, but at least we have the right tools to try and scan and see what's going on. But if ever anything were to happen, it's just a standalone machine. Sorry, I have a frog in my throat.
No, I'm going to
Might be
tap your
malware.
back. Tap your back.
Yeah. All right. That being said, let's look at some sample malicious emails and texts that we are receiving lately, like this one from Canada Post.
Yes.
So,
How many of us have not received something from Canada Post?
yeah, yeah. So let's start looking at certain things. Who is it from, right? Canada Post. What's that email domain? Looks
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
It's a generic email. It's payment request, a link. It's missing a logo. There's missing the address. There's no greeting. You can track your package, but there's no link. Pay a small amount and you get your package. Sense of urgency. Click here. I'm going to advance this so we see some of the red flags.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, sorry, went too fast. So there's a few things to look at. Obviously, the first thing is if it's coming from a reliable source or a source that you recognize, who it's addressed to. Why isn't it not to your name and it's just generic? Simple things that you can spot right off the bat. Obviously, if this was a real email, I'd be able to pass my mouse over the receive the package and could possibly give me a link. That might not match any of this. Let's look at sample number 2. It is an email from, strange number. Again, going to, generic email address, a generic greeting, not your name, just a valued info, and some sort of voicemail that you need to listen. So number one, if you don't have a email system, if you don't have a voice, excuse me, if you don't have some kind of a telephony solution that when there's a message, it's sent to you by email, you shouldn't be clicking on any of this. You should be really,
That's your first red flag.
yeah, obviously. So, there's a lot of red flags on this one, obviously. Next one is a text, and I'm gonna let Maria talk on this. Oh, Lucy, you're a doll.
This one's
I've
a
just been
fun.
handed a breath, not a breath mint, but one of those mints for my throat. Thank you.
Ah, there you go. There you go.
Go ahead, Maria.
So yeah, again, one of these, I mean, I get texts all the time about packages that are arriving from Canada Post and all of that, but this one is kind of weird, right? Like it's coming from Canada Post, but there are 4 people on it. So why would there be other people? The numbers don't look right. Like that some of these, why would Canada Post be sending me something from, an international number or a foreign number? There's, the link looks odd as well. I mean, it's just, help Quebec dot top. It just everything about this gave me like, got my hairs on the end of the back of my head or my neck standing up because none of these made sense. So if I am expecting a package from Canada Post, then I think maybe this might be it. Or I'm going to go directly to Canada Post and track my because
Exactly.
whatever I bought, normally I get a tracking number, and I don't even have to click on that link. I can go directly to the Canada Post, copy the tracking number, and see where my package is at. But this was really weird. Why there would be other people on my package tracking or whatever. It just didn't make any sense. The numbers didn't make sense. I just a bunch of stuff just didn't line up. So
Cool. Next one. Another text. So do you recognize the number? CRA, financial institutions of other government entities will never send links through text or email. They'll direct it with secure websites. So, they usually don't include the link that you see there. And
yeah.
obviously, the cell provider, warning about the number. It's just, it's pretty straightforward. You shouldn't be clicking on any of this.
And I know we're going to get comments about, oh, who's going to fall for one of these things? Like CRA is never going to send you this
Yep.
stuff. It's very like the security is, they'll send you an email. They won't even send you a link. They'll tell you to go on your account and all of this stuff. But you know what? They keep sending these things because there are people that will fall for it. So just be careful, that's really the message here, right?
Yep.
Let's have a look. Like, does this look like it makes any sense to you? Like, why would CRA be said? First of all, that's not true. There's a lot of people getting money back these days with the elections coming, but that's not the point. The point is, yeah, CRA or any banking or financial institution is never going to send you a text and tell you to go on a link and get your money here. No,
Yeah,
that's not going to happen
exactly.
ever.
And the last sample we have is we don't have the red squares all around, but pretty much, it might be a little small, but it's an uncommon center. There's identities wrong, the suspicious text, and like we talked about the QR stuff. This is really tricky. Very hard to detect whether it's good or not. The first question I would have is maybe ask your IT department, your provider, is that the process for like a SharePoint link or sharing of certain files and documents? Is that what the business practice is to send it with QR codes?
Well,
I've
I
never
would I
seen
would
that
also
before.
check with my HR department. Like, is this real? Like, would you do something like this? So these are
Exactly.
employee benefit plan. Is that
Yeah,
normal thing for you to send me a QR code so I can go get it? Like,
exactly. Yeah. So it's very hard because you can't really pass your mouse over it and see if there's a valid link because of the fact that it's a code. Okay, so with
that is
that,
true.
let's test your cybersecurity knowledge with some questions.
Yeah, I hope you're all ready for this.
Yes, so let's start. So we'll ask the question, we'll set up a survey, you answer the questions, we'll see the answers, and then we'll give you the real answer.
Yeah, we'll
Question
put up
number
a
one.
poll. We'll put up a
Yeah,
poll after we read the question. Yeah.
there you go. So which one of the following should be adopted to reduce the risk of malware infection?
All right. So you put up the poll right now, and the voting begins. What are your thoughts? Mhm. A lot of thinking going on, a lot of good answers. Let's put it that way. All right, we're almost there. Give it another moment, and then we'll close that and share the responses. All right. So we have 4% who said use an antivirus to scan files on a USB key. We have 4% who said never click on a link in the unexpected suspicious email. Both of those are good. But the real answer is the 93%. I got it right. So all of the above, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'll switch over to the answer. There you go. It's all of the above, obviously.
Yeah.
Antivirus, very important to scan your files, USB keys, right? Never download attachments that you're not expecting in any emails. Obviously, your antivirus needs to be able to scan files that were downloaded from the internet as well. So we're talking about local files on your machine, USB, and files that are you're downloading via web. And never click on a link or in an unexpected or suspicious email, obviously. Question number 2, antivirus software is an absolutely foolproof solution against malware.
So true or false? Let me launch the question. Okay, we can't ask this question again. It's too easy.
We'll have to change it up.
Yeah. Well, we do from one webinar to the other, but all right. I think we've got everybody who voted. So we're going to close that and share. So we have 3% who said true and 97% who said it was false. So
It is false.
97%
Antivirus.
got it right.
Yeah. So antivirus software is not absolutely foolproof against malware. I mean, particularly since its effectiveness depends largely on keeping an activated, keep a subscription, so not subscription, but it's more signature files current at all time. I would say this was probably more relevant in 1995, maybe, but now we need to add more layers to our cybersecurity protection. So it's no longer the traditional antivirus. We need to look at something like EDR for endpoint detection and response, something that uses artificial intelligence, an engine that checks the behavioral methods and behavior of what you're doing, what you've been doing, and then all of a sudden, files start to get encrypted or copied. It's not normal. You need to add that layer of protection for your emails, which is anti-spam. You possibly need to look at tools like a zero trust type of solution that just adds that extra layer, and maybe you're looking at an external firm that could probably run XDR, MDR version, which is the managed version of the antivirus, where there's somebody looking at your environment in real time to ensure that you're protected. So these are different layers you need to put in place.
Just before we go to the next question, so Doris, when we go back to the first question, about the USB, and it says one of the answers is use an antivirus to scan files stored on a USB key. So she says that goes back to my question on the USB. Yeah, so the best thing to do is not to insert your USB and give it to, again, the IT people so that they can use an antivirus or to scan the USB to make sure that it's safe.
Exactly.
But yes, if you insert the USB, it is too late.
Yeah. So question 3, which one of the following is not a characteristic of a phishing email?
Not a characteristic.
Not a characteristic, yeah.
Launch the poll. This one's a little tougher, taking people a little bit longer to respond. Give it a few more seconds. Okay. I get it. I think we're there. So I will close the poll and share the responses. So 0% said it includes a hyperlink and button that invites you to click, so that's goodness. 8% a sense of urgency to trigger an immediate action. 69% said it was addressed to you specifically, and 23% said it contains logos and the names of a recognized entity. So the answer is?
The answer is the third one. It is addressed to you specifically. So it's not typically what you would see in a phishing email. You will see hyperlinks with buttons that are inviting you to click. You will see definitely a sense of urgency, immediate action. Let's go, click on this to fix your problem. And you will see logos that you recognize, but they're not the actual logos. It's links that goes elsewhere. So you usually don't see directly addressed to you. It's always the dear client, hello sir, hello madam, dear valued customer, etc. This is what you'll see.
Hello info.
Yeah, exactly. Question number 4, which of the below is not a best practice to protect from phishing messages and websites? It is
Right.
not a best practice.
Not a best practice. Mm, I guess everybody's reading the answers because voting is a little slow. All right, now we're getting more responses. Let's see. Okay, a couple more seconds to get everybody's response in. Okay. All right, we're gonna close the poll and share the responses with everybody. So what do we have here? We have 24% who said always best to access a website as you normally would. 44% said after clicking on a link, don't give your info unless you verify that the site is legit. 16% activate anti-phishing on your browser and security software, and 16% be skeptical of emails that you update your account info for. So I'm going to hide that. And Sergio?
It is the second one, obviously. Let's talk about the other three. Always, always best to access website as you would typically do, normally do it not through that link. Activate your anti-phishing on your browser and security software. And of course, be skeptical of emails that want you to update account info, etc. The second one, you click on the link and you're gonna how are you gonna confirm, or how are you gonna ensure that the link brought you to a legitimate site? Because what we've seen now is the landing pages tend to be built by the cyber criminals that kind of look like a real landing site, but in reality it's their own site and they're collecting that information. So it's very hard to do that after the fact, after you've clicked. Question number 5, what should you do if your computer is locked by ransomware?
All right, I'll launch the poll. Okay, another one that might be a little easy because all right, we're almost
If it's easy, we need 95% up on the same answer.
well, I'm gonna say that we've got a bunch of very smart people on this call. All right, I think we're pretty much done. So we're gonna close that and share the response. And I told you they were smart. 100% of the people said call your technical support. So
Bravo.
yes, awesome.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Good. I don't see the poll yet. Is it off or?
Oh no, hang on a second. Let me hide.
There you go.
There we go.
Good?
Sorry about that.
Good. So yes, please call your technical support team. Call your provider. Call your IT department. Call somebody to help you. Don't attempt to fix it yourself. Don't attempt to contact anybody. Don't wait a few days. That's for sure, because it might get worse. Obviously, the faster you get to it, or the faster the IT team gets to it, hope I'll cross my fingers when I say this, the quicker they'll be able to resolve that problem.
Well, at least stop the damage.
Yeah, exactly. So question number 6, which of the below would be the most helpful if your files were encrypted by ransomware?
This is they're already encrypted. Just
Yes. So you've been encrypted. So which one of the below would be most helpful?
all right. We're getting the votes. For everybody, a few more seconds to get your vote in. I guess I should call it an answer as opposed to a vote. All right. Okay, get your responses in. Otherwise, I'm going to close this so we can get and share the answer. Okay, let's share. Okay, so no clicking on links and suspicious emails got 15%. Never disable your antivirus software, 25%. Not opening attachments and unexpected emails, 10%. And 50% said saving files on the network on your PC. Now remember, we said your files are already encrypted. So the answer is?
The answer is files that are hopefully saved somewhere on the network or cloud so you can recover. Because obviously, remember, you're encrypted now. So what do you do? The first three are preventative measures that you need to be doing on a regular basis, right? Not clicking on links, don't disable your antivirus, don't open attachments and unexpected emails. But, you know, that's preventing it. But once, if you get infected, the only thing that's going to save you is the ability to recover your files from a known good source that is either on the network, on servers, somewhere in the cloud, a replicated area. Your secondary and third versions or copies of the data is pretty much the only thing that can help you at this point.
Excellent.
Yes. Question number 7, which of the following would be considered personal information? Multiple responses.
So this question, the next one, are really to do with privacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why is that becoming a cybersecurity concern? Well, because people's private information needs to remain private, and there's a lot of laws out there that are being put into place, and protecting people's personal information and personal lives. So it's important, and it's now become part of the cybersecurity conversation, right? So let me launch this poll and stop talking and give you an opportunity to. So again, we're looking for which would be considered personal information. All right, I think you got all the votes in already, so that's good. So there's a couple coming in. All right, we're going to close and share the responses. So a person's full name, 93% said gave that response. 96% said person's date of birth, and 96% said driver's license. 59% said a person's work address. So the correct responses.
The correct response are the first three with regards to personal information or personal identifiable information. A person's full name is now considered personal information. Your date of birth, obviously, driver's license, credit card info, stuff like that. That's all personal information. But a person's work address is theoretically an address that is available online. You can search for any company and get, address and phone number to reach that company. So technically, the person's work address is not considered personal information.
Yeah, and this all needs to be protected. So
yes, yeah, which is a whole other webinar.
yes.
Question number 8. The following are all considered confidential and personal data except for one.
All right, let's launch the poll. Yeah. As I said, lots of smart people on this webinar. We're almost there. Just give it a couple more seconds. Get everybody's vote. All right. Well, we're going to close that down and share the responses. So 100, or no, so 96% said the product catalog, and 4% said a record containing an employee's home address. And so the answer is?
The product catalog, because right now, I mean, I'm not sure if it applies to all provinces across Canada, but obviously individual medical files, salaries, and even records containing your home address as an employee are now confidential and personal data. Whereas a product catalog is typically, usually or sometimes, available online when you go on the website, on the company's website, and it's made available, or sometimes it's distributed, but it's not really considered confidential or personal data.
Well, I don't know how an organization can sell their product or service if they don't have,
Without having a catalog, yeah. Now, if
and
you tell
making
me
it
they
public,
had,
right? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
now
If
if you
it's a
tell me they
secret,
have a cost sheet maybe with the products and what it costs them, yeah, that's it's actually not, it's confidential
but
and
it's not
more,
personal.
it's
Yeah,
not personal. No.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody. That
All right.
hopefully that was informative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we promised that we would provide an ebook, and we have one for you. There's the link there, but don't worry. I've just put the link also in the chat. So if you want to go download the ebook that we made available, which is about choosing the right cybersecurity awareness training for your organization, you can go ahead and click on the link. The link will also be sent at the same time as we send the recording. So if you don't catch it now, don't worry. You'll have the link there for you when we send the recording. So Doris says, I have a more specific question that I would love to ask someone offline about confidential data. Doris, that's great. Our webinar tool allows us to capture all the questions, and we'll make sure that your question is going to be sent to the right location, the right microage location, and then they'll reach out to you so that you can ask them that information offline. So yeah, absolutely, we can do that for you.
Yeah.
So with that, I guess, thank you for joining us today. We encourage you again to download the ebook and reach out to your local microage with any questions. But Doris, somebody from our microage location will contact you so that you can ask the question. Also wanted to mention that our next microage talks technology webinar is May 16th. We will be discussing how to make your organization more cyber resilient. So look for the invite shortly. And with that, I don't see any other questions coming in. So Sergio, it's always a pleasure to do webinars with you. Thank you.
Same here. Same to you.
And thanks to all of you for spending time with us today. And hopefully you found it of value. And we wish you a great rest of the day.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.